Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Mari. I'm here with my husband, Jim. It is time for our weekly podcast, and we are on time. It is Monday evening.
It is the correct day, the correct time. This is so unusual.
I'm so excited. So we are here. It's Monday evening, and we're going to talk just a little bit about something that I actually saw on LinkedIn. It's a brand new study. Well, not brand new. It came out toward the middle or beginning of August. But it's about...
It's recent to us.
Well, yeah.
I think it's fairly recent overall from what I can tell.
I think they said they published it on August the 6th.
Okay.
So it's very recent. And it's from a place called Center for Countering Digital Hate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think that what we're going to do this time is we're going to, instead of opposing our natural tendencies, we're going to go with them. Your natural tendency is to be a counselor. Mine is to be an engineer.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about this from a counseling perspective.
Sounds good.
And what it means. But we're also going to discuss my part, which is how. Okay. How do you fix a problem of the magnitude you're talking about? Because I honestly don't know. But anyway, what was the study about?
Well, basically what the study was is they created like 3 fake 13-year-old personas, and they proceeded to get around the guardrails for ChatGPT.
They made a concerted effort.
And it was the 3 things that they were trying to get around had to do with suicide, eating disorders.
Yes.
And I think the third one was
making drugs.
Using drugs.
At least that was my understanding. I got to be honest with you. I didn't read the whole report. It was 55 pages long.
Wow.
So it was a bit long. So I didn't read the whole thing. I kind of skimmed it. Yes, I did download the report, though. I didn't just ask ChatGPT about the report.
So you did skim it.
I did skim it.
Human eyes on it.
I did download it. I did put some eyes on it. The center, these people, they're not just focused on AI. Okay. And when I first read it, I thought, oh, good. Yet another person who's trying to get headlines because they hate AI. They seem to have a legitimately good mission, which is there's so much hatred online. I experienced that recently. I even commented back recently, which I never, ever do because I don't want you to think I'm defending you. But
it's like the more followers I get, the more opposing views I get.
I really think your theory was right, though. I'm not sure this person was real.
Maybe not.
It
might have been bots.
Sometimes the bots now with AI behind them can generate controversy in order to get engagement, which is what they want. Anyway, so when you asked me about this study, this ChatGPT, the headlines were very dramatic.
It was about a fake friend.
Well, the headlines are dramatic because they were saying that ChatGPT can be bypassed easily by 13-year-olds, and they made it sound like the Pied Piper in the headlines, that it's leading them to destruction on purpose. It seemed a little dramatic, so I was going into it, put the engineering brain on. I'm going into it going, is this a legitimate study? And it appears that they didn't go out of their way to say that their study was all encompassing and all that other stuff. I've got some notes that I took on the study, but I don't think it was intentionally, maybe it was, but I don't think it was intentionally supposed to deceive you.
Well, what I saw on LinkedIn about the study was somebody had posted about how this is alarming. We need to pay attention to this right now. And it was a suicide note that they said the kid had gotten ChatGPT to help it write. The fake kid had gotten ChatGPT to help it write their own suicide note. And so, yes, they were trying to get attention with that, but it's not attention that's not needed. Okay?
I don't know what you mean.
What I mean is, and we'll go into this a little bit more, but what I mean is, thank you, AI, because you're shining a light again on something we should have talked about a long time ago. And that is that students, kids, young people use the internet and social media and now AI to find ways to do things, to communicate with others, to find friends from all over the world. And it's been happening long before artificial intelligence hit the scene.
Let's go to the how part for a second, because I told you I was going to do that. It's very difficult as adults to look at this. I mean, it's easy to be very dramatic about it, but it's very hard to drill down and go, how do I fix this? Because I remember I don't like content filters, and I don't dislike content filters. I say that from an IT person's perspective, not from the perspective of a parent or whatever. I understand their purpose. The problem I have with them is they're notoriously difficult to manage. Mm. For example, we work at a school, had a middle school. When I upgraded to a different content filter 6, 8, 9 years ago, and once the kids discovered it, they started having fun with it. They would type in things to see if they got blocked. Well, we had it set up to flag these types of phrases, and so the principal was having to call these kids, and this was the middle school. They were calling these kids down to the office constantly. Now, the principal at the time, which was Todd Keel, Todd Keel, he handled it, I thought, very well. He said he put a damper on it because he told the kids, okay, you did this, you typed this in, let's talk to your parents. And so he started calling the parents in, and so the kids went, ooh, wait a minute, this is not fun anymore.
Right.
Now, some parents, are like, yeah, they didn't care, but a lot of them, the kids got in trouble because the parents had to leave work and come up there and, deal with this, and it was fake.
Well, I was actually teaching at the junior high at the time when this was happening. And what it was one kid daring another kid to type in a word like guns or
sex
suicide or whatever got flagged. And they all realized what it was that was getting them called to the office. And so they started daring each other to do it.
Yes, it became a daring thing.
Right. Which brings me to a very big point that I was going to make about this study is let's talk about social media and the TikTok challenges and the stuff that kids, it happens all the time. There's one going around right now that's basically almost like a street fighting TikTok challenge to where you're videoing you beating up somebody else and then posting it on social media like it's a street fight.
That's not new.
It's making the rounds again.
I know, but remember they had them where people were going and just what they call cold cocking. They were punching people in the streets. Right. And then they were posting, somebody would video it, post. We had it happen at school. We had one girl obviously started a fight with another girl because we ended up pulling off the security cameras and they were filming it. These kind of things. So let's talk about our next headline because it's relevant. TheGuardian.com, this is August 2025, so it's very recent.
Social media is still pushing suicide-related content to teens despite new UK safety laws.
And I've read time and time again about, all the lawsuits that keep happening because most of the privacy laws and the laws that are like this kind of stuff here in the United States, the companies and even some government officials make fun of them, of the UK and the European Union because they have these strict laws. You're going to kill advancements and all this other stuff because you're doing this stuff. But they're trying, like everybody else, to figure out how to save their own kids. In this particular case, this is the researchers at the Molly Rose Foundation. They kind of reminded me of the anti-hate people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, they set up dummy accounts again as a 15-year-old girl, and they were bombarded with self-harm and depression posts. Now, they said in the study, almost all of the recommended videos watched on Instagram Reels and TikTok, 97% and 96% were found to be harmful, while over half of them recommended harmful posts on TikTok's For You page.
No, they were trying to get the kid to actually do a harmful post and repost themselves doing something harmful.
Or they were feeding them harmful posts.
Yeah.
And that's social media. That's nothing to do with it. Now, it has to do with these algorithms, which use machine learning, which is a precursor to most of the modern AI stuff. So I'm not saying that they're not somewhat related, but it's different. But it's still, we call social media the big dumpster fire because it's so difficult. Back to that how again. How do you deal with that? I mean, how do you fight with that? And I don't know another way. I honestly, because it's like sticking your finger in a dike trying to keep the whole thing from collapsing. I mean, it sounds good in theory, but all you end up doing is losing a finger.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about before social
Let's go
media.
back in time a little farther. I thought you'd like this one.
Mhm.
This actually was UPI.com archives.
Okay. So you really had to dig for this
I had
one.
to do October 1993.
Okay.
That was a couple years ago.
That was quite some time ago. It was before we had our first child.
It was.
Yeah.
It was actually.
Mhm.
You're right. I was only a year out of college.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Wow.
I remember when this happened. I remember
The discussions
about it.
Disney cuts film scene that has caused 2 copycat deaths. The producers of the film The Program, I didn't see, I don't even know what that movie's about. I didn't see it. Have announced they're cutting a scene which has resulted in copycat highway stunts that left 2 people dead in Jersey and Pennsylvania.
And one paralyzed.
And one paralyzed in New York.
What
Apparently
was it
they were
doing?
lying down. I remember them talking about people lying down on the road.
It was like an athlete.
It was a dare.
It was an athlete, and they dared somebody to lay down on the yellow stripe
To prove your manliness or something?
Yeah. And so it was in the movie, and apparently, I mean, they cut the scene, but not before people
I think it was
had watched
shown in
the
like
scene.
1200s theaters or something before
Right.
they
And
cut
so
the scenes.
all of a sudden, all these kids were daring other kids to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about car surfing. I remember when that was a thing.
Oh yeah, I actually got you some information about that.
Yeah, and the reason
I thought you'd find interesting.
Well, car surfing was something that I'd heard about a lot too. I mean, and there was a 15-year-old. Well, there was a 15-year-old dancer. I don't remember exactly where she was from, but
Yes.
she took the dare, and she thought since she was a dancer, she was agile and had good balance, and she got on the car, and they were driving with her surfing on the car.
She ended up paralyzed, I
She
think.
ended up paralyzed.
I found that article, but now I can't find it again.
Yeah, it was in the New York Times back when it
It's New York Post.
or the New York Post.
Yes, you're right. It was the New York Post. I showed you that earlier, and then I forgot what I did with it.
All of these things were happening before artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So if you want to,
My dad, there was an area in Silsbee, Texas that they used to go to drag race.
We did too.
Okay. And so drag racing and daring, there was a girl that I knew very well at the town that I grew up in that was sitting with her body outside of the car, with the window rolled down, and you sit and hang onto the roof of the car and she was paralyzed because of a dare of doing that during a drag race. And so
somebody told us when I was a kid, I don't even remember where we heard of that if you were, before you started the drag race, if you would pour bleach on your tires and then you get somebody on either side of the car and then you get the tires spinning because they're slick, that it'll catch on fire.
Okay.
It actually worked.
Okay.
And the thing is, though, you have to have somebody on each side of the car holding the car because it starts trying to slide sideways.
Oh, so you're going to stand there and
so you have a person on each side, a person driving a car, that the tires are on fire by the gas tank. So
what is our point in all of this, Jim?
Our point is...
Let's get to the point of this podcast.
Your point is, I think...
Okay.
I'm going to let you... Your point is, again, we're going from a counseling perspective and a how perspective.
Yes.
You go first. Counseling. What does this tell us when people do stuff that catches their tires on fire?
It tells us that Jim did some really not smart things when he was younger. But
you gave me the book on ADHD, but you didn't give it to me early enough.
Kids do things that are not smart. And it's the education that we have to give them to get them to think about stuff before you do it. Parents.
What does Rachel say?
You tell your kids, hot, don't touch. No, don't put that in an electrical socket. That'll bite you if you put your hand out to pet a dog. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many things we have to educate.
Educate.
That might just be my new little shtick. There's so many things that we have to educate kids about. And it's not just at home that they get the education. When they come to school, they have to continue to not just get 2 + 2 = 4 and all this other stuff. We have to educate them about the world that they're going to be in. Because guess what? I've actually known kids that I have had in my classroom that have never left the city of Llano.
I was one of those kids. Not the city of Llano. I had not left the state of Texas
until we got married.
No. The state of Texas, I didn't leave the first time I was 17.
Okay.
I didn't leave the United States until we went on our honeymoon.
Okay.
But
my point is, they shop at local. They go to the local dollar store for clothes. They don't leave the 3,000 population of this small town, or 3,500 population, this small town.
We've grown.
If they get out of high school and they decide that they're going to go elsewhere, they're not going to know how to handle what is in the world around them.
It is difficult as a person who came from a rural town like I did, and you did too. Your first town you were in was smaller than this one.
We didn't even slow
And
down.
when
It was
you
55 all the way through down.
Yeah, when you look at what happens when you get outside of, like, the first time I left Llano, I went to Dallas. That was a big trip for me.
That was huge.
And I saw the auto flush urinals. I thought that was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I couldn't figure out how those things flushed.
Remember,
do you know what it was like? It was like an episode of the Beverly Hillbillies, because I'm standing there in a bathroom. I'm trying to figure out how that auto toilet flush thing worked. And I'm looking in that little hole, and people are looking at me like, there's something wrong with you.
Remember the little girl we took to Austin that had never been very far, and she didn't know what an escalator was? There was a girl that we took to Austin.
She'd never seen one, because
we'd never seen an escalator.
We don't have those in Llano.
I mean,
we only have about 3 elevators in Llano.
Really, and most of them don't work. Our point, to get back to artificial intelligence, I am going to continually say, thank you, AI, because we need to have these tough conversations.
Okay, is this the counseling hat?
This is the counseling hat.
Because I have an engineering hat I'm going to put on in a minute.
Okay, well, my counseling hat says we messed up with social media.
We're still messing up. Apparently.
And we're still messing up with social media. Because when it comes right down to it, social media is still giving kids things to do that are bad. Well, more so at a higher rate than AI.
Well, I think, let's talk about the how for a second. And I'm going to focus a little bit mainly on the two we're talking about. There's actually 3 different categories that I broke this into, but let's talk about the how for a second. I don't like content filters, but I see their value. I would never turn the content filter off at the school, even if they said I could.
Right.
Because when we built the first iteration of Agnes, one of the things that I liked about the second iteration, one of the things I liked about the tool that I was looking at was that I could put in a content filter.
Pipelines.
And I could, it's a pipeline. I could pre and post filter. So I could see what you're asking and see what answers they get. And then my goal was, I haven't implemented this the way I want to yet, because we're not really we're not giving kids access to Agnes yet. But my goal with that was for us to be able to do exactly the same as content filtering. And is this the right answer? Is this the complete? It's not the complete answer. I was in our content filter today, and I look at flagged activities fairly regularly, which means kids are typing in things that are getting blocked. Sex, drugs, suicide. I didn't see any suicides. Our content filter, though, if any of those get flagged, our counselors get notified. There's your counseling hat for a minute.
Right.
The same thing has to happen with artificial intelligence. Are you ever going to block it? We can't block all of it now. And social media, and it's just a flood. And that was long. I've been doing this for 20 years at the school district. We've had a content filter the entire time I was there. And the flood has never slowed down. And what we have now is actually better than every generation has gotten iteratively better than the previous one. But at the end of the day, it's still, things leak. And I had this conversation. I had to come before the school board because some kid was searching for and found a website with animated topless video volleyball, and it was buried in a gaming site. A little bit. It was an educational gaming site. Somebody had buried that in there, and so and don't even get me started about content filtering YouTube videos and stuff like that. It's difficult. It's a complicated problem. You have to educate. So the how part is you have to have content filter. I don't think kids should have unrestricted access to it. The second part of the how, in my opinion, for AI has to do with what we talk about all the time. You have to make them into skeptics. I like AI, but I want the kids not to trust it. I do not want them to ever trust it. I want them to trust. What is it that you say? Trust but verify?
Trust but verify.
I want them to have that feeling. And when I kind of broke these up, the 3 categories I talked about, we have AI like ChatGPT, So how do you interact with it?
It's
It,
voice
it's an
interaction.
interactive, it's a prompting thing. TikTok and Instagram are algorithmic. We just talked about that.
And so it's feeding them what the algorithm
The
thinks
echo
they,
chamber problem.
yes, it's like
It's feeding them
it feeds upon itself.
what you ask it. It thinks it wants to, again, like it, because it's a machine learning, it wants to please you. So it feeds you what you think it wants. It builds a profile of you so it can feed you more and more stuff. Sadie is being very aggressive tonight. Anyway, so, and then the third is search engine / social media. That was the other category I broke it up into.
That's passive, though.
But it is passive, somewhat passive. I mean, it's got AI built into it now.
Well,
so it less passive.
if I do search for something in a search engine, the
Which
next time I go to that search engine, it's going to pop up an ad, or it's going to do something like that. That's that machine learning
thing, because they're trying to feed you ads.
Right.
So if you look at the reach of those, obviously ChatGPT has 700 million active users per week. Google has billions.
Yeah.
So search is definitely bigger. Social media, I can't even imagine what the size and volume of that data is. So, but what's interesting was, and yes, I was using AI to help me. I was trying to classify the risk type.
Okay.
You've got AI, you've got social media, and you've got search engines. These are three types that I was trying to classify it into. The interesting thing I think about AI and ChatGPT is it's personal. Now we're going to put your counseling hat back on.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between stuff that's being fed to you, but somewhat passively? I mean, it's not completely passive, but versus something that feels personal.
It's tremendous.
It's a different kind of interaction.
It's a different type of feeling.
Yes. And that's what makes AI become its own new category, I think.
Oh, absolutely. AI is its new category. And I think that it's going to take a lot to convince young minds that it's not your friend.
To be a skeptic?
To be skeptical about it. But, and I like to point this out, our son-in-law had a best man or groomsman at his wedding that he had met through a gaming site online.
It was Discord. They used to talk through Discord channels, and the kids still do it.
And
it's become it became a recruiting tool for terrorism, and it's become
human trafficking.
And what did we teach our kid? We taught our kids to be skeptics. Now, maybe we didn't do them any favors, because my dad also taught me to be a bit cynical and skeptical, and sometimes I'm a little much. Maybe it makes me a good engineer, maybe it doesn't. I don't really know. But I don't see how, again, we're back to the how again. How do you keep kids safe in an environment where people come into your home, but they don't come through your front door? Mm-hmm. The only way I know of to do that, other than trying to block them, which is hopeless, because they're going to get it on their phone, or you're not going to give them a phone. You don't have to. We didn't give our kids phones till they were older. You don't have to. But our oldest was going to another kid's house and playing games. What are you going to do? Tell them they can't stay a night with another kid?
Or even after school. I mean, he would just go over after school. Hey, we're going to run, get a pizza. And instead they were going and playing a game.
But he's the one who told us about the kid that his friend was doing that
about to meet someone in a park.
Because he was skeptical.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, it was actually harmless. The other kid was just a kid. But it didn't have to be.
No.
That's called luck.
Yeah.
So when you talk about these different ways that people come into your home, if you want to, for lack of a better term, and what you can do about it, search was an easy one, or an easier one, but not really. I mean, search, even now, because I watch what gets blocked, if it's getting blocked, that means the search is successful. They just didn't give it to the kid. Mm-hmm. So if I can type in sex, drugs, and rock and roll and get a response, and I see it all the time. The kids are searching for college girls in bikinis, and where there's been a whole lot of discussions about what you should or should not be able to block on these content filters. It's too massive. When I gave that report to the school board, it was probably 10, 15 years ago. There was like 200 million websites at the time. I don't even know how. I mean, there's probably billions now. I really don't know how many there is. And that's what I told the school board. I said,
and let's talk about, I mean, as a counselor, I used to get those notifications whenever a kid would search for something.
Yes,
and we
you
have
did.
certain ones that we had to flag. But
and they still get flagged.
And they still get flagged, and the counselors now still get notifications. But you have one counselor. State law says you're supposed to have one counselor for every 500 students.
So let's say for example, you had what is our smallest campus? One of our elementary schools has what,
Probably 375.
375, 400 kids. Let's say you had a campus of 400 kids. How many counselors is enough? Let's talk about the how for a minute. Realistically, how many counselors is enough? How do you flag the kid for counseling? Everybody talks about this stuff. And I'm not saying this to be difficult or facetious. I'm saying this because I truly don't understand. Even the definition of mental illness,
Yeah.
When I flag stuff in that comes in the content filter, we subscribe to a massive list. And there's all these, now it's mostly machine learning stuff that does it, but it goes through and it categorizes all these websites. And then, so then we say we want the websites that are, pornographic or whatever to be blocked. And it does that. But weapons, whatever. But the subtlety in how these websites get categorized is really difficult. Mm-hmm. That's why we have whitelists, because things get thrown in there that shouldn't, and so on and so forth, because you can't have a human doing it. So just that piece of my little world is complicated. Mm-hmm. How do you, if a counselor got something on a kid, I mean, this is a very human thing to have to do. You as a counselor, you get a flag on a kid. What are you going to think? If, for example, the kid searched for suicide, what are you going to do? What's going to come into your head? What is the first thing you're going to try to do as a counselor when you got that?
Well, go talk to the kid.
The first thing you're going to do before you go do that, in my opinion, is you're going to think about the kid.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You're going to start going over in your head, okay, do I know this person?
Do I know the kid?
Has there been a family event recently? Is mom and dad
has somebody else that he knows
or
committed suicide? Because a lot of times you get the copycat suicides. Yes, now, absolutely. You have to know the kid, but then you also you go and you get the kid, and then there's a certain set of questions that you're supposed to ask the kid, and then you have to scale whether or not.
Every bit of what you're describing, now multiply it by 400 kids, or let's say percentage-wise, you only have 10% of those kids that have that problem. That you think are maybe high risk. Now we're still about 40 kids. How many counselors you got? One?
So here's my opinion.
Is this a how or a counselor thing?
It's a counselor thing.
Okay.
My opinion is that for like kindergarten through second grade, you should have a counselor that specializes in kindergarten through second grade kids.
Because they respond to the world
respond to the world is differently. Third through fifth, third through eighth. That's when you have to have a counselor that specializes a little bit more in what they're going through. That's when you start having like your body positivity and your relationship and your social emotional stuff. And, there's so much stuff that's going on during that brain development time. And then when you get probably, I'd say 7th through 9th, 7th through 12th even, then you're talking a lot more of following the crowd and getting in with the wrong crowd and parental issues. And,
so as an engineer, you're talking, again, I'm thinking of the how part. You're talking about a problem that's infinite in complexity. There is no way to bound this problem. And you bring in your own, we've seen this before, you've experienced it as a counselor, you bring in your own biases about that kid, especially in small towns because you knew their parents or you know them, or so you may have a negative bias toward that kid because of the
very realistic.
Like, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks in a small town, and I mean literally.
Or you knew their brother. Yeah. Their brother. Oh, I knew your brother from 4 years ago. I remember Rachel used to complain all the time about the fact that you're Jacob's little sister, and she's like, she always like.
And the funny thing is Jacob was a really good kid.
Yeah, but still,
and they compared them, but in a way that Rachel didn't like. Anyway, that's a form of a bias. So. At the end of the day, when we talk about the counselor side, mental health, having enough counselors, counseling the kids, what you have to go through in terms of counseling, it's a big problem. And from the house side of that, I'm going, there is no possible way to have enough people.
Yeah, no, there's not, because now they're also asking counselors at a lot of school systems. Counselors actually see every single student on campus every week. They're having to do like the rotation lessons and stuff and do all the lessons. So if there's a crisis or it could be like the end of the day before you got the notification that a kid had, searched for how to build a bomb or whatever.
Well, you know what? The one thing I can say for Llano ISD is that Mac Edwards, our superintendent, has very much values
mental health.
the mental health. I mean,
Yes.
he's put a lot of effort into making sure we have. I mean, his wife is a counselor, so that obviously gives him perspective.
But we have a licensed
We have a
professional
licensed
counselor
professional.
too.
And she had left for a while, and he really wanted to get her back, and
Yeah.
she came back. So he has put the effort into it, but it is a problem if, as the scale of the mental health issues with the kids coming out of COVID and all that other stuff has amplified it.
Mhm.
It's an impossible problem. What I can tell you, in my personal opinion, AI as an assistant to a counselor to help them kind of massage, think about the data, I can agree with that. But I do not think we're anywhere near this point where the AI should become the counselor. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the AI.
I'm
becoming the
100% with you. 100% with you.
So
now, I am seeing a
we're gonna
lot
run
of
out of
things.
time.
It's okay. I am seeing a lot of things where the AI is becoming like the confidant or the friend. And it's one of those things that
It's on the age of the kid, though.
we have some really mixed signals about this because of elderly parent that is
We have
alone.
mixed feelings, yes.
Yeah, mixed feelings about it. I mean, I had a relative that never got married, never had kids, never and they literally are that they could go home after work on a Friday and not speak to a single soul until they go back to work on a Monday. Yeah, and
So as humans, counselor hat for a moment.
Mhm.
I'm going to pretend like I'm you for a moment. As humans, we should do a better job of connecting with other humans.
I agree.
As a technology person and a IT person and all the other stuff, engineer, all that other stuff, the house side, we need to put in place some of these safeguards, but we also have to educate kids and people about the boundaries, the limitations. We have to make them skeptical of the technology. We should have done that with social media.
Mm-hmm.
It was not done, and it needs to be done with AI. Because, and I gave you a nice little summary because we got to wrap this up. I thought you'd like that.
I thought it was good. Social media is worse in breadth.
Yeah, in other words,
it's a wide problem. It casts a wider net.
That's true.
Social media casts a wider
really
net.
Wide net.
And you've got your influencers and your beautiful people and your so it really does. ChatGPT, or let's just say AI, is worse in the depth that it can go with you.
Because it can keep having this iterative conversation. It's not just feeding you things in an echo chamber. It feels personal. It is a different kind of problem. Banning it is not going to be the solution. I can tell you from my personal experience with social media and trying to ban it, the content filters are not perfect. 700 million people are using it a week. That means that they consider it value.
Jacob used to sneak over to the friend's house to play the video game.
Yes, he did. So you're not going to fix it by banning it, but I do believe I'm a huge believer, and it's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Education is always the answer, not trying to block it and suing people and all that other stuff. Anyway.
I agree. My name is Mari. I'm here with my husband, Jim. This is AI in Action. Thank you very much for having a serious conversation tonight. I think we were a little serious tonight, but this is an issue, and it is something that some people higher up, policymakers, educators, superintendents.
I think the educators need to be a very key component at the table.
Very key component, and I think
I'm
parents
not a classroom teacher. I'm a technology IT person. And I still think that you have to put educators at the table, and they have to come to it with realistic expectations. They can't come to it with, well, we should just get rid of that. We'll go back to pencil and paper and everything will be good. Not the world we live in.
Not the world we live in. Hope you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.